So I can see some of the participants. Harshita is there, Rakhi Chaudhary, Sheetal, Shiran, and I suppose these people. So a couple of people are missing. So perhaps they might join uh, with the passage of the time. Anyways, so welcome all of you to the session in which we have a couple of presentations. So let me give a tentative idea of the presentation. First, we have on the list Harshita Poswal with the title Representation of Women in Spanish Movies. Then Professor Murugwal on screen women in STEM, inspiring or dispiriting. Then there is a PhD scholar Hani Sharma, women in STEM, presentation in digital media, documentaries, web series, and movies. Finally, we have Pratishtha Mathur on the same engagement of women in STEM on digital platforms. Then is a combined representation by Rakhi Chaudhary and Sheetal on rural women in STEM A changing scenario. Last one is Raj Ojha, the gender pay gap and mental health of women in STEM. So I suppose all the titles are clear to everyone. Yes,
Yes, sir.
fine. So we will begin with Harshita Poswal. So Harshita, can you begin? And now I just give the charge to Manoj sir to take over charge. Yes, Manoj sir, please take it.
Thank you, Hoshi sir. So now we have six presenters, and please take care of time. Everybody will be getting around 8 to 10 minutes. I'll request you not to take more than 10 minutes, and understand that each presentation will be marked out of 20. So you take care of time limitations also. So in starting, we are calling Harshita Poswal. So Harshita, you want to share any PPT? Okay, yeah, it is there.
Yes, sir.
All right, Harshita, go ahead. All the best.
Thank you, sir. So, a very good afternoon to the teachers, faculty members, and everyone present here. I am Harshita Poswal, the research scholar in Spanish at Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Rajasthan. I'm going to discuss a very common but often neglected topic of movies and their impact. Specifically, we'll be discussing about representation of women in Spanish movies. We are all familiar with the word women, but do we know feminine? So this is a question for everyone who's present here. Do we know feminine as what is feminine? Okay, so not all of us have the right perception about the word feminine. Most of us relate it to women only, but it's definitively untrue. Womanhood and femininity are two different words, but are often used interchangeably. And the reason for that is the lack of knowledge, understanding, and exploration. Pedro Almodovar is one of the directors having deep understanding on the gender roles, and femininity. The reason we could say that is through his depiction of characters in his movies. So, coming back to the question, what is feminine? Feminine is a character that usually a woman portrays, but is nowhere restricted to just women. Today, in the era of LGBT, we can explicitly understand different genders and therefore may conclude that genders other than females may or may not have feminine in them. Considerably, a woman strong enough to go to office, earn bread for the family, whereas man being the nurturer is a total role reversal that depicts femininity in even the masculine. So, talking about genders in movies but not including Pedro Almodovar in the topic would be an intelligible injustice to the topic because he was one of the most renowned directors of Spanish cinema. Almodovar's profession started in 1980s. He made movies in the period of Franco, which was the movement of La Movida, a sort of creative and cultural renaissance in Spain that blanketed a budding feminist movement. Although his profession took off throughout this period, his genuine training started out turns in advance within inside the pueblos of famed Spanish plains of La Mancha in a global populated means of women. His mother, grandmother, sisters, and neighbors were all the means of women that he depicted in his movies. So, through his experience of youth, La Movida, he was able for the first time to translate these beliefs into a film. So he has made 16 extraordinary movies that depict Spanish culture and women in them, but we will be discussing a few of them. So, in general, his films show the world of Spanish women. It presents this world through a full spectrum of characters: mothers, daughters, queens, travesties, nuns, lesbians, housewives. These women find themselves in extreme and often suffocating situation, usually at the hands of men. They have to learn during their films to trust themselves and to use their own strength and willpower to escape their oppressive situations. So, we will begin with the first movie, which is Matador, that means killer, based on a man who gets injured in a bullfight, which is called toreo. In Spanish, becomes disabled for life. He becomes disabled for life. Echoing Spanish Puritan culture, argues that the pursuit of pleasure is natural, that anyone who speaks pleasure according to their nature is not a pervert. In Matador, as elsewhere, he develops this argument with remarkable levity. Much of the specialist literature on contemporary Spanish cinema in general and on Almodovar and Matador in particular deals with post Franco. Franco was a dictator in Spain, so after him, many things changed. Women used to behave in a particular manner, society expected them to behave in a particular manner. So, despite the fact that Franco just went out, the gender and gender representation in his movies was very bold. The movie Matador subverts bullfights to explore the phallic road to gender equality, but its cultural radicalism concerns much more than gender and point to orthodoxy, much broader than Francoism. So, in the movie, there is a scene when the male is masturbating and he becomes female. So the violence, so the male actually uh, gets aroused by the killings of women, but at the end of the movie, there is a woman who actually gets aroused by the killing of men. So the violence has moved from a spectacle to be looked at, a passage of film clips that can be replayed again and again, to an integral, single, and final experience. So, depicting that women are the ones who can change the complete scenario by either opposing the wrongs done on them or being on the dominant side, as in the case of this movie, where initially man was aroused by a dying woman, but at the end, the other woman character enjoys the same with the opposite gender, demonstrating the role reversal. So after that, we go to the movie that is Talk to Her, that is Ablek on Eya. But in this movie, uh, the theme of religion, misogyny, and commodification of violence is there. A man cries in the opening scene of this movie, but although unspeakably sad things are to happen later in the movie, these tears are shed during a theater performance. So in the audience, we see two men who are still at this point strangers to each other. Marco is a travel writer, Benigno is a male nurse. They become friends. They have tears of empathy. Hardly matters which man cries. So usually men do not cry according to the societal norm, but in the movie, men are seen crying. So in this movie, one theme is that men can possess attributes usually described as feminine. They can devote their lives to a patient in a coma. They can live their emotional lives through someone else. They can gain deep satisfaction from bathing, tending, cleaning up, taking care, which is a nursing profession is usually considered as a feminine profession, but here it is a masculine. Another thing that we can see here is that the women protagonist is the bullfighter. So usually women are not bullfighters in the society. They are not expected to be a bullfighter, but here the woman is a bullfighter. She fights and she got injured. So after that, she is dependent on the men, but still men respect her for her career that she chose. There is another woman who is paralyzed since the beginning. We do not know much about that woman, and she went into that condition and is absolutely dependent on the male doctor. To define gender as a construction and a performance is means placing it within a three-dimensional structure. Is there is a gender being constructed, there must also be an agent by which construction is carried out, an audience for which the construction is performed. So in this movie, of course, at one level we have the performance constructing meaning, as in the case of a woman projecting herself as feminine by adopting a certain behavior, but a different level we can have someone reading her performance literally constructing its meaning by assessing it in terms of femininity. In each case, a specific standard of gender is implied, which may be deliberately chosen or compulsorily adopted. Then the next movie is El Ley de Deseo. The film talks about homosexuality in the era when it wasn't that normal. Nowadays, it's very normal, but that time it was not. Ley de Deseo means law of desire, never shies away from addressing sexuality directly, treating the human body as something that should be seen and even objectified. Almodovar desire is what drives human action for better or worse. The plot is essentially built on Pablo's insatiable and often selfish sexual appetite and is complicated by Antonio's obsession and perseverance. We are made to see exactly how sexual encounters come about, the sensation that the characters feel during sex, and then the subsequent after effects. Another character in the same movie, Tina, who is a transgender, balance out both the genders in one person according to the societal standards. A woman should be fragile, weak. However, a male should be rough, strong. But here he explores an absolute different side of both the genders, as Tina picks up fights, is outrageous most of the times, and Kwan is the victim who ultimately gets killed by the man he loved. What is most striking about this film is that gender is never treated as a definable quality. Men are not men, women are not women, but rather every character simply exists free of categorization. They may define themselves by certain terms, but the narrative never constricts them to one single categorization. This is most evident with Antonio and Tina. Antonio defines himself as heterosexual male, but sleeps with Pablo and then becomes completely infatuated with him. Tina is transsexual, who acts as a mother and sister. Pair of cynical and oafish police officers question her gender identity, but a doctor reconfirms with notable incredulity that she is absolutely a woman. The next movie would be Mujeres al borde de un ataque nerviosa, which means women at the verge of a nervous attack. So in this movie, there are women having relationships, breakups. So the main character, Pepa, she meets a variety of eccentric characters, including Ivan. Ivan is her boyfriend, and his son. She meets his son, his fiance, and a terrorist cell who have been secretly holding her best friend Candela hostage. So in the movie, director discusses about objectification of women as in case of Pepa. Ivan just used her for his pleasures and left her later in a condition of almost a nervous breakdown. Peppa, who is an artist, dubs an advertisement and featuring Candela as the innocent bride, points to foreignness of institutionalized marriage after having married the virginal female. So virginity is again one taboo that the society has. And the reluctant groom, the priest places a condom in the bride's flowers, warning her against todos los hombres, which means every man, while mocking the stereotype of chaste
Harshita,
femininity.
please, I'll ask you to summarize it.
Yes, sir. I'm just summarizing only because it's a very vast topic. So yeah, so the last movie would be Pepe Lucy Bomb, which is again different women characters, wherein one is dominant, one is submissive. The women enjoy being submissive, women enjoy being dominant. So different characters of women are seen in this particular movie, wherein a woman is such a dominant that she can play with anybody, and the other one enjoys being played. So these are all the movies that we were about to discuss. So finally, I would say that power of audiovisuals has been manifested and exploited politically, socially, and economically throughout history. As the technology keeps growing, political and economic leaders have utilized cinema in changing and shaping people's outlooks, either for their own benefit or for the benefit of people. They not just mirror societies, but also shape societies. A good example would be when our prevalent beliefs and ideologies are challenged in films. We are able to interrogate ourselves and embrace change. And thanks to audiovisual technologies, people from all over the world are able to watch movies and understand the cultures of faraway communities. That has in turn helped us to become more united, even when our cultures are so different and diverse. Beside mirroring our diverse cultures, the film has a long time been shaping our beliefs and value. A good example is when people copy fashion trends from movie stars and musicians. It is also common these days to find societies using figures of speech that are inspired by the film industry. So I would say that Similarly, it happens in the gender consideration amongst the society. To define gender as a construction and a performance means placing it within a three-dimensional structure. If there is a gender being constructed, there must also be an agent by which construction is carried out and an audience for which the construction is performed. That means, so whatever they depict in the movies, they are uh, either the depiction of the real society, or they want to say something to the society so that they get those changes inside them and help other people. For example, nowadays, because of the movies, I can say that people are changing, their thoughts are changing, people are accepting women at different careers. In the presentation, you can see the graph where I have depicted the women at different careers. So women and male ratio at different careers. We can also see that earlier the ratio was not the same, but now it has changed and grown for women. So I would conclude with this. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Harshita, a nice presentation.
Thank you,
Now,
sir.
I'll ask Muthwal ji is here. Before that, Harshita, there is a question for you. As the conference talks about women in STEM, right?
Yes, sir.
So you chose a very nice topic. What do you say about if you talk about the condition of women in Latin American movies now and 50 years back? What change you see in the movies?
So now it is a lot more developed. The earlier it was that there is a particular norm, women should behave like this, they should be portrayed like this, because when a woman sees that movie, she would be behaving like that, or she would be accepting those fashion trends that the woman is following in the movie. So earlier it was considered that it should maintain a particular dignity or particular boundary, but nowadays there are no boundaries. Women can be women, they can react, they can act as themselves, they don't have to behave as per societal standards, even in the movies and in the society also. So that's what I would say.
Right. So you talked about Latin American movies.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir, can't hear you, you're on mute.
When you talk about when you are asked to compare between Bollywood movies and Latin American, which shows means Bollywood or Latin American out of these two, which shows the more free or free picture of women?
Sir, I would say Latin American. The reason for that is we are still developing in that mentality. We are still on the path of that development, but they have, of course, succeeded, or I can say excelled than us in that particular area.
All right, thank you, Ashita.
Thank you, sir.
Now I'll ask Professor Muthual to speak on on-screen women in STEM. Do we have? Okay, if Muthual is not speaking, then can we ask the next speaker, Hani Sharma? Hani is not there. So Rakhi Chaudhary and Sheetal, can we ask them to speak? Are you there?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, please.
yes. Okay, just give me 2 minutes.
Rakhi ji, please take care of timing.
Hello?
Please take care of timing. Maximum
Okay.
10 minutes.
Okay, okay.
So the co-speaker is also there with you, co-presenter?
Yes, yes, she is there with me.
Right, right. You may start, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So actually, first of all, I would like to introduce myself and my uh, friend, Miss Sheetal. So myself, Dr. Rakhi Chaudhary, I'm principal and professor in a college which is situated in rural area of Rajasthan in district of Churu. And Miss Sheetal is a faculty in zoology. So we have been expressing the things which we have observed while teaching the students in the rural area, and that I have compiled in this presentation. So the topic is rural women in STEM and a changing scenario. So as we have been talking about the women representation, underrepresentation of women in STEM, and that is very low, and the retention rate is even lower. And the reasons of rural women being underrepresented in STEM, it has been reported by many researchers and activists. But that we also know the challenges and the hurdles, they are deep-rooted in the gender gap, social stigma, family expectation, other biases. But now, the situation is not that gloomy, and there appears a ray of hope as more rural women, they are enrolling in the STEM education for the better socio-economical status. And though the women, they are still facing the challenges than the urban women, but their interest and their dedication in pursuing the STEM education is showing that the things are now changing towards the positive transformation. So that we have compiled it in this presentation. So first of all, why women participation in STEM is necessary? Because it provides a wide range of diverse perspectives. So women bring unique experiences, perspectives, and ideas to scientific work, and having more women in STEM occupation will enable society to benefit from women's expertise by maximizing innovation, creativity, and competitiveness, as quoted by National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine 2016. To fulfill the shortage of STEM workers, because we all know that future is of science and technology. So majority of jobs would be in STEM. So we require more workers, more recruitments in the STEM education. So that would also will be fulfilled if we have more women in STEM. Then it would also encourage women to pursue well-paying STEM fields, and that can help to reduce the gender pay gap. It would also open up greater career opportunities for the women. But women are underrepresented in STEM in rural area, that we all know is because of the multiple intersecting social norms, early marriage, household responsibilities, gender bias, and STEM is considered as male dominated in this rural area. So women are not supported even by their families to pursue education in STEM. STEM is not equally accessed and properly communicated to women in rural area because of the poor quality of education in rural area, under-resourced institutions, unavailability of good teachers, mentors, and women role models in STEM, lack of advanced curriculum in STEM, and choice for academic programs influenced by, again, that traditional belief that boys are more competent in STEM than girls. But now the situation is changing because, and this can be quoted by, I've taken from the Economic Times, March 2022 report, that the situation isn't so bleak now. There seems a light peeping at the end of the tunnel. In past few years, STEM, it has moved beyond just a trendy hashtag, shaping into a positive movement, encouraging more women to dip their feet in the field of science and technology. In India, the scenario is comparatively better, with nearly 43% graduates in the STEM being women. And according to Hindustan Times report in February 2022, this is again a recent report, which says that according to the annual All India Survey on Higher Education report, which compiles enrollment in the undergraduate, master's, and PhD level programs between 2017-18 and 19-20. There is a growth of almost 54,000 in the number of women in STEM, whereas there is a decline of about 59,000 in the number of men enrolled in STEM studies. Also, in a written reply to the Lok Sabha last year, Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, citing the World Bank data, noted that in terms of percentages, there are more Indian female graduates, around 43% in STEM at the tertiary level, than in developed nations like the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, and France. So we have also done a survey through the questionnaire and interview on girls studying at the college level in the rural area. And the findings are, The father's education, the girls who are studying here in the graduation, their father are not educated. They are only educated maximum up to the school level, up to 12th standard. And the major occupation of their parents, father, is farming. If you see the mother's occupation and mother's qualification, then 100% all the mothers of these girls, they are housewives. And the mother's qualification is not more than 10th. Some are up to primary, upper primary, or maximum is up to 10th level. We've also found that none of their parents, they are related to STEM education. Even only 27% siblings, they are related to the STEM education or STEM career. And even 60% of their relatives, they are in the STEM education or STEM career. But the 67% women, they are interested to pursue the higher studies in STEM, and they are getting 100% support from their family. But the alarming picture is here. 88% girls, they are not aware about the government scholarships in the STEM, and 80% women, they are not aware about the institutions, good institutions in the STEM. So first, let us discuss what are the reasons of changing scenario in rural area. Awareness about the STEM among girls and their family. Though the main occupation of rural areas farming, still parents understand that education and career in STEM would provide a bridge for better socio-economic life to their girls. Gender biasness and gap is little bit reduced. Women role models in family and examples of successful women are there in their family, which has encouraged these students to pursue their higher studies in STEM. Digitization has led to awareness to these girls, and because of digitization, urban-rural gap is reduced, digital divide is reduced, and even the social workers, NGOs, the people of trust, they are helping the women by giving them support, financial support, and awareness to these students about the career and about the education, about the institution. So they are supporting these students to pursue their career in the STEM. There are establishment of women institutions in these areas. And now there are availability of STEM streams, institutions, labs, role models, and mentors. What is the future's perspective? Here, since I have mentioned that the alarming part is that they are not aware about the scholarship schemes, they are not aware about the higher education, the good institutions. So what we can do in that case? Because unless a girl is motivated for its education in STEM and is successful in getting employment, then this picture would again become a negative example, and it would discourage other women to pursue their studies in the STEM. So here the role of teacher is major and crucial because they are very close to the students and they are highly respectable in the rural area among the communities. So they can help to create an inclusive learning friendly environment which encourages girls and boys equally in STEM learning. They can encourage and guide the learners and how they can cope up with the difficulties if they encounter, how to face those difficulties. And these teachers should also be trained about the government policies. These teachers should also be made aware about the programs related to STEM education and career so that they can convey it to their students, and awareness about the scholarship schemes for women in the STEM. And we require more STEM resources, role models, and the curriculum. And this is the main part, I would say, emphasize on this part, that the curriculum and the pedagogy which is followed in the rural institution is far from being apt to impart quality education in STEM field. So the policymakers, they have to improve and provide equal access to STEM education and career opportunities and spread STEM knowledge across all sectors of society. And there is still need of more women institutions in STEM. Digital divide, it has to be reduced because till date, according to the Harvard Kennedy School Study 2018 in India, 71% of men, they own mobile phones as compared to just 38% of women. And out of those 38%, only 33% of women of urban area, they have mobile, and 28% of rural women, they have access to the internet. So it is particularly relevant because mobile phones, besides having many other utilities, they are also the gateway to the whole new world of opportunities. And last but not the least, the most important is her own will, she will definitely get support. And women should be uplifting other women by leaving the ladder for others that they used to climb up. Thank you. This is my presentation of whatever we have observed in this area and try to express through this presentation.
Thank you, Rakhi ma'am. It was a nice presentation and you did a survey also. May I know what was the place name where you did this survey?
Yes, it is a village, Borugram, where the college, Prabodhan Degree College, it is run by the trust, BCT Trust. They run this college to educate the girls and boys of this nearby area. It is located in Churu.
Churu, okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
And it is near to the, it is at the border of Haryana and Rajasthan. So students of Haryana, they are also studying in this college. And the ratio of female to male ratio is 70 to 30. 70% is female here and 30% male.
Okay, so you talked about that how many of them are aware about government schemes which are available for women and girl student. So actually, if they are not aware because of certain things, do you have any scheme, anything in your mind that how can they be made aware about them?
Yes,
So
yes.
that more and more people may be benefited.
Yes, I've mentioned in this PPT that at the school level and even at the college level, whatever the policies are there, they have to be, communicated to the teachers, and teachers, they have to be trained so that they can convey in the language which is easily accessible to the students of that area and even to the parents, because here counseling of not only the students, but parents is also required.
Right, ma'am. Actually, there are many schemes also, like you might have heard about Unnat
Yes.
Bharat Abhiyan, that is run by Government of India.
Mm.
So if you have this kind of thing in your college, NSS may be there. So Unnat Bharat Abhiyan works for this. Whatever schemes are there related to villagers, particularly farmers, women, the children. So through them also they can be made aware,
Yes.
through camps, awareness program and more.
We are working on that. Every weekend we have the counseling sessions, motivational sessions, and the awareness sessions where we make the students aware about the national scholarship schemes, eligibility criteria, and other schemes. And if they want to pursue the education, higher education, in which field, then what are the competitive examinations. So we are trying to make it aware through at the college level. So, but it is, college to college, it differs. So there should be a universal policy. So everyone has to do it. Then only the effect, it would be evident.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your participation. So now only 2 participants are there. Kaushal sir, do we have most presenter or not? So we can end it accordingly.
Yeah, sir. I suppose that technical team is looking into the matter, but yet they are unable to contact them. So, what shall be the possibilities? Shall we go for?
Okay.
Shall we end the session now?
Mobinji, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So only 2 presenters are there. We can end the session now.